Good afternoon. More than 300 people have died in a fire in China. The blaze started in the basement of a building which was being renovated. Many of the dead were celebrating at a Christmas party in a crowded nightclub on the top floor. The fire happened in the city of Luoyang, 400 miles southwest of Beijing. Our Asia correspondent Tom Bradby reports.
No one knows what started the fire in the Dongdu department store in central China, but it spread quickly, trapping hundreds of people. Construction workers had been busy on the second and third floors beneath a packed disco on the fourth. The dance hall had been staging a Christmas party. Firefighters rescued some of those trapped, but they were forced back by the heat of the blaze and had to watch as others appealed for help inside. Eyewitnesses saw some of those trapped jumping from the balconies in panic. More than 300 died in all, survivors taken to the city's 4th People's Hospital. Officials there said most of the victims had died of smoke inhalation. Provincial leaders went quickly to the scene, but if this follows the pattern of previous fires in China, local planning laws, or the lack of them, may be partly responsible. 6 years ago, more than 300 people, most of them children, died in a fire in a town in the far west. A month earlier, 233 died in the northeast. Bad building and corruption in the regions often appear to ensure fires have devastating consequences. Tom Bradby, ITN, China.
Here, Railtrack has announced it's to recruit an extra 1,000 staff to try and get Britain's railway network up to scratch. The company has been working round the clock over the Christmas period, replacing rails and points as part of its massive repair programme. Here's Ben McCarthy.
Inspecting some of the work that's been completed in the last 24 hours, the Transport Minister Lord MacDonald was out this morning meeting some of those involved.
But the ballast in this track is basically solid. You just got to sort of top it up a bit. Yeah.
And as 8,000 engineers continue working at about 60 sites around the country, making use of the railway's Christmas shutdown, it's been announced that Railtrack are to recruit 1,000 more staff to help keep the network running.
We certainly need more skilled staff on the railways. The railways was allowed to run down for many decades. We're trying now to rebuild it, but the priority must be just to get the trains running in time, and we're assured by Railtrack that by the end of January 85% of the trains will be back to normal. So the squads that are working over Christmas and the New Year are making a big contribution to that, so I was here to thank them for their work.
Even after these 2 days of intensive work on the railways, there's still more to be done. And Railtrack's hoping that by recruiting extra staff, they'll soon be able to get the network running normally again. Isn't this a little bit late? Shouldn't you have been doing this months ago?
Well, the 1,000 that we've announced today is about the future. It's not to do with the recovery operation of getting the network back to normal, in the short term. That is about the longer term.
Railtrack says it will start recruiting in the new year and wants to attract new graduates and former engineers who took early retirement. Ben McCarthy, ITN.
Russia's Mission Control is struggling to re-establish contact with the unmanned Mir space station. Scientists are trying to restore radio signals and prevent a possible uncontrolled crash landing. The 140-ton station was due to be guided back down to Earth in February. 2 Britons imprisoned in the United Arab Emirates for drug smuggling returned home today. Head teacher Lynn Majakas and her friend Ian Bambling were sentenced to 4.5 years, but always maintained their innocence. The 2 were freed after receiving a pardon. Richard Slee reports.
2 days after being told she would be freed, Lynn Majakas is at last reunited with her family. With Ian Bambling, she just started a package holiday when both were arrested for possessing a small amount of cannabis. The drug was found in a camera case belonging to someone else. Lynn says she spent more than 2 years in prison for something she didn't do. And for most of that time, she was in a room with 147 other women.
I don't want to leave any of them there. There's some lovely, lovely people there.
But she said now wasn't the time to talk about the conditions she'd had to endure.
No, I'm not going to go into that now. Another time, yes. I'll have to, but not now. I've just got away from it.
Cuddling his niece Charlotte, Ian Bambling said this was a moment he'd been dreaming about.
Pretty overwhelmed at the moment. Haven't slept for the last 48 hours. And as you can imagine, from 2 years and 2 months in the inhumane conditions, I really just want to go home now and sleep and spend some time with my family.
What are the conditions like?
Inhumane, I think. pretty much is all I can say at the moment. I'm really tired.
Lynn says she wants to try and do something to help the friends she's left behind in prison, but for now both are celebrating a belated Christmas with their families. Richard Slee, ITN.
Thousands of protesters have been demonstrating against the annual Boxing Day hunts across the country. It's the biggest day in the hunting calendar, but it could be the blood sport's last year. MPs have backed a bill which could pave the way for it to be banned. Israel's Prime Minister Ehud Barak says he is prepared to accept American proposals to reach a peace deal with the Palestinians. But as tomorrow's deadline for an agreement between the two sides approaches, tension on the streets remains high. Here's Sue Saville.
Armed Palestinians marched this morning at the funeral of a young man shot dead by Israeli soldiers. The mourners vowed to avenge this latest death, while President Clinton waits to hear if both sides will accept his terms to talk. A spokesman for President Yasser Arafat said he'd not yet agreed the deal.
It's still too early to give a final answer. We are still in need of time. We are still in need of some clarifications concerning these ideas.
The deal would mean Israel withdrawing from most of Arab East Jerusalem and Palestinians giving up demands for a right to return to land lost. But Israeli right-wingers fear Ehud Barak is making compromises because he wants to be re-elected.
With a prime minister who's no longer the prime minister, who's facing elections, is willing to forego on all of the vital and important areas and not only our history, but the security of the future for the Jewish people in Israel.
13 weeks of violence have left 343 people dead, mostly Palestinians. There was renewed violence today near the city of Nablus. If both sides do agree to President Clinton's terms, the real negotiations to end more than 50 years of conflict will begin in earnest. Sue Saville, ITN.
Football, there's plenty of Boxing Day action in the Premiership, 9 matches in all, and in the past hour 2 of them have kicked off. The latest scores: West Ham are 3-0 up against Charlton and Arsenal are beating Leicester 1-0. And the main news again, a fire in China has killed more than 300 people. The blaze started in a building in the city of Luoyang. That's it for now. We'll have a full roundup of the news and sport at 7:15. Bye-bye.
Hello, good afternoon. If you missed out on a white Christmas, all was not lost. Things remain cold for the rest of the week with the prospect of at least some snow for many of us over the next few days. And indeed, we have wintry showers around at the moment, mainly over Scotland, some into Northern Ireland as well, at their worst over the higher ground. Now, cold everywhere today despite the sunshine, especially so in southern counties with this raw northeasterly wind and small amounts of rain, sleet and snow fringing southern coasts as well, but they really are small amounts. More of the same tonight, snow over Scotland as well as Northern Ireland, Faroe piling into the Highlands. Temperatures between -3 and -6, -10 in the odd isolated spot. And watch out for those icy roads. That's all from me. Here's the summary.
Powergen. Power, whatever the weather.